Luton, Rotherham and Stevenage are all projected to do poorly in the first season of Football Manager 2024. Luton are projected to finish in 19th, Rotherham are predicted to finish in 24th, and Stevenage are projected to finish in 17th. In this video, I'm going to look at a plug and play tactic and test it out with all three teams as we look to see if the tactic can help them all beat the drop. Knap is one of the very best Football Manager 2024 tactics creators, and I've had a look through his extensive catalogue of tactics to see if we can match up some of his tactics to real life manager systems. In today's video, I've chosen to focus on Xabi Alonso. He's working wonders out in the Bundesliga and they are on course to win their first ever league title. They have been using a 3-4-1-2 system. It just so happens that Knap has a system that works exactly like Xabi Alonso's does out in Germany. This tactic is the Argus Alonso 3-4-1-2. Now, as always, if you want to just get this tactic and get straight on with it, I don't blame you. Check out the link in the description down below. The only thing I ask, if you download at this point, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video so this gets put out to a lot more people. Again, as always, if you are here just for the results section, feel free to skip forward and see how this tactic does. I'm going to put it in the hands of Luton, Rotherham and Stevenage to see how it will get on with teams that are not predicted to win the league. For those of you that want the breakdown of the tactic, let's jump into it. Starting off at the back, you're going to have a sweeper keeper who is set to support. You're going to have three ball-playing defenders who are all set to defend. On the left, you've got a wing-back set to attack. In the middle, two segundo volantes set to support. And you'll have a wing-back set to attack on the right. At the top of the pitch, you're going to have an attacking midfielder set to attack. And two advanced forwards also set to attack. As with most of Knap's tactics, this is a custom tiki-taka tactical style. Its mentality is attacking. It's in possession, looks like this. It's in transition, will look like this. And it's out of possession, will look like this. So as I mentioned, I'm going to put this tactic in the hands of Luton, Rotherham and Stevenage. Let's jump to the results section and find out how those three teams get on running Xabi Alonso's system. Let's kick off our results section by looking at Luton. Now, unfortunately, we don't find Luton in the top half of the Premier League. They would finish in 15th place, only getting 42 points from 38 games. We'll look at the Premier League in more detail in just a second. But firstly, moving across to the FA Cup. Interesting, they would get through to the 5th round of the FA Cup where they would be knocked out by Stevenage, who are one of the other teams that we have run the test on. And then in the Carabao Cup, they would be knocked out in the 3rd round by Sunderland. Back to the Premier League then, and let's have a look at how their season would get on. So from their 38 games, they would win 10, they would draw 12, they would lose 16, have a minus 13 goal difference, and only finish on 42 points. That means that they would finish a massive 19 points off of Aston Villa, who would finish in 6th place. So let's have a look at the squad and see how the goals and the assists were shared around. So they would have joint top goal scorers with Jacob Brown and Elijah Adebayo, both getting 11 goals. Brown would get 2 assists and Adebayo 3 assists. Further down, Ross Barkley with 7 goals, Chong with 6 goals. Ryan Giles would get 5 goals and 10 assists. And Alfie Doughty would get 9 assists from the wing-back position. If we look at the data hub just to see some numbers, starting off with their defending numbers, you can see goals conceded per game was 1.61, expected goals against per game was 1.68, 7 clean sheets across the season. Looking at the attacking numbers, goals per game was just 1.26, non-penalty XG was 1.44, they would have 11.45 shots per game, they have a pass completion ratio of 86.28. There are a few other numbers here. If you want to have a look at them, feel free to pause the video. But to kick us off, Luton Town have not done fantastically, as you probably would expect with a team that isn't predicted to do very well anyway. They have quite easily avoided the drop, finishing 11 points ahead of Bournemouth, but there is a massive gap to some of the teams above them. Next up, we are moving to the Championship and we are looking at Rotherham. Straight away, you can see from the Sky Bet Championship that Rotherham would get promoted to the Premier League using this tactic. They would win in the playoff final 2-1 against Leicester. We'll go and have a look at the Sky Bet Championship in just a second. But looking at the FA Cup, they would get through to the 4th round where they get knocked out by Leyton Orient. And in the Carabao Cup, they would only make it to the 2nd round where they would be knocked out by Burnley. Going to the Championship then, just to have a little look at the table. Firstly, they would finish in 4th place, and that's quite impressive considering they were only 8 points behind champions Birmingham City, which is a very strange one. I haven't seen many sims where Birmingham City come out as champions, but there they are. Well done to them. Norwich would get promoted with them too with 97 points, and Rotherham would finish on 90 points. We then go into the playoffs and look at the semi-finals. They'd be drawn against Leeds United, where they would go through 3-2 on aggregate. Then in that playoff final, they would go on to beat Leicester 2-1 to gain promotion to the Premier League. We would have Georgie Kelly get 23 league goals, Dexter Lambixa would get 7.34 average rating, Cohen Bramall 17 assists, and Lambiska would get 16 assists. Also, looking at the squad for that breakdown then of goals and assists, Georgie Kelly with 25 goals and Jordan Hugill with 20 goals. You'd have Rathbone with 9 goals and 10 assists, Bramall with 8 goals and 19 assists. So a very impressive season for them indeed. Looking at the data hub to look at some of their numbers then, starting off with the defending, conceded per game 1.08, expected goals against per game 1.38, and they kept 16 clean sheets. Looking at the attacking numbers, you would have goals per game 2.2, non-penalty XG is 2.15, 15.59 shots per game, and an 86.67% completion ratio. So it does seem that this tactic will work when in the hands of teams that aren't expected to gain promotion. As you can see, Rotherham getting promoted to the Premier League is a big achievement. So we are now moving on. We are looking at League One, where we can see that Stevenage also reached the playoff final, but sadly, unlike Rotherham, they couldn't get promoted, losing 3-2 to Peterborough. In the FA Cup, they would get knocked out in the quarter-finals by Chelsea, which is quite an impressive feat. In the Carabao Cup, they would get knocked out in the first round by Gillingham, and in the English Football League Trophy, they would get knocked out in the Southern Section second round by Chelsea's under-21s. If we look at the league and look at the league table first, we can see that they would finish 3rd in the league, playing 46. They would win 26 of those games, draw 11 times, have 9 losses, 37 goal difference and 89 points. That's quite impressive considering they would finish 5 points behind league winners Blackpool and only 3 points behind Bolton, who would go up automatically. Sadly for Stevenage, 89 points was 7 better off than Peterborough, who would eventually get promoted through the playoffs. In the semi-finals of the playoffs, they would beat Portsmouth 6-3 on aggregate, and then, as you've already seen, in the final, they would lose 3-2 to Peterborough. If we look at the squad to check out some of the numbers for the squad, so we would have Elliot List with 22 goals and 5 assists, Jamie Reid with 17 goals and 4 assists, Aaron Pressley 11 goals and 2 assists, then Dan Butler would have a fantastic season, chipping in with double digits in goals and assists with 10 and 17. You'd have Freeman with 9 and 12, Jordan Roberts with 9 and 10, and further on down, Kane Smith from the right back position would get 13 assists. If we look at the data hub, firstly looking at some team defending numbers, goals conceded per game was 1.51, expected goals conceded per game was 1.36, and they kept 10 clean sheets across the season. Looking at the attacking numbers, goals per game 2.31, non-penalty XG goals 2.05, shots per game 14.45, and a pass completion ratio of 85.89. So all in all, this tactic has done fantastically in the lower leagues. Well, in League One certainly, where Stevenage would finish in 3rd place and not get promoted. Rotherham in the Championship would far outdo their expectations, getting promotion to the Premier League. And Luton would finish in a respectable place, remembering that they are only looking to avoid relegation at the start of the game, and this tactic achieved that. So, were you impressed with the tactic? Let me know. Are you going to try out the Xabi Alonso 3-4-1-2?